You are a smartphone, then a cell is your smallest app, working silently in the background, making sure you don't crash. In this chapter, we are going to shrink ourselves down. No, not with Ant Man's suit. We are going to enter the micro world of cells, where every tiny structure is a hero with its own job, from the brainy nucleus, the class topper, to the hard-working mitochondria, the power bank, and even the cell membrane, the strict gatekeeper of school. What are cells? Cells are the basic structural and functional units of life. Every living organism, whether it is as simple as bacteria or as complex as humans, is made up of one or more cells. The human body is complex at the cellular level because of the vast number of specialized cells, over 200 types. A cell is the smallest unit of life that can carry out all life processes such as growth, reproduction, and energy production and response to the environment within the body. In 1665, Robert Hooke published Micrographia, where he described microscopic observations made with his improved compound microscope. He was the first one who coined the term cell. He was observing a thin piece of cork under the microscope when he saw that the cork resembled the structure of a honeycomb, consisting of many little compartments, and it is derived also from the bark of a tree that is a living thing. In the history of science, this was the very first time that someone had observed that living things appear to consist of separate units. What about the shape and size of the cells? Some cells have a fixed shape. Fixed shape of cells can be spherical, elliptical, or spindle shape, and some cells like the WBC and amoeba have changing shapes. Mycoplasm, smallest known bacterial cells, measures at about zero point 0.3 micrometer. The largest cell on earth is the unfertilized ostrich egg, which is a single celled structure. It is the largest known cell by volume. The nerve cells or the neurons are the longest in the human body and they are adapted for transmitting messages over long distances. The shape and size of the cells are related to the specific function they perform. An amoeba has a changing shape because it is a unicellular organism made up of just one cell and its body is surrounded by a flexible cell membrane. In case of amoeba, the flexible cell membrane can extend and retract easily. Amoeba moves and captures food by pushing out parts of its cytoplasm, forming finger like projections called pseudopodia. These constantly change, so the shape of amoeba is never fixed. Unlike the plant cells that have a tough cell wall, amoeba only has a soft membrane, allowing the free movement and shape change. That is why amoeba changes its shape to move and capture food. In other case, nerve cells have typical shape consisting of a distinct elongated and branch shape. The division of labor in the human body. The division of labor in the human body refers to how different cells, tissues, organs, and systems perform specialized functions. Why? To keep the body alive and functioning smoothly. Imagine them like workers working in a factory on specific job, but collectively they have to achieve a common goal. The human body has a heart to pump blood, a stomach to digest the food, and so on. Similarly, the division of labor is also seen within a single cell. In fact, each such cell has got specific components within it known as the cell organelle. What are cell organelles? Cell organelles are specialized structures within a cell that perform specific functions. Just like the different departments in the factory, they work together to keep the cell alive, healthy, and functioning properly. Each kind of cell organelle performs a special function, such as making new materials in the cell, clearing up the waste material from the cell, and so on, to keep the cell alive and perform all its functions properly. These are the different cell organelles and their functions attached here, in short, to memorize easily. Nucleus can be considered as the manager, mitochondria is the power supply unit, ribosomes are the machines making protein, Golgi apparatus is the packing and dispatch department, lysosomes is the cleaning department, ER is the transport system, and the chloroplast found in the plants is the food production unit. This is the analogy to learn the different cell organelles. Now comes the plasma membrane, also known as the cell membrane. The plasma membrane is a thin, flexible, and selectively permeable boundary that surrounds the cytoplasm of the cell. It separates the internal environment of the cell from its external surroundings and regulates the movement of the substances in and out of the cell. Remember the strict gatekeeper of the school? The plasma membrane is primarily made up of lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates. What are lipids? Lipids are a group of naturally occurring molecules, fats, oils, waxes, and certain vitamins, and these are hydrophobic in nature, which means that they don't dissolve in water. Now, what is the importance of lipids? Lipids make the plasma membrane flexible, fluid, selectively permeable, and protective. Without the lipids, the membrane would collapse or become non functional. Presence of lipids makes the plasma membrane self healing while also forms the structural base in which the proteins are embedded. Now, how does the movement of substances take place into the cell and out of the cell? It takes place by the process of diffusion, osmosis, endocytosis, and exocytosis, and also active transport. The diffusion is a passive process which doesn't require any ATP or energy, whether substance is moving into the cell or it is moving out of the cell, that is, moving from high concentration to low concentration. Oxygen enters the body cells from the blood for respiration. The oxygen concentration in the blood inside the RBC is higher than the oxygen concentration in the body cells because the cells are continuously using the oxygen for respiration. Here, the diffusion doesn't require any energy. Carbon dioxide moves into the plant cells during photosynthesis because carbon dioxide in the air outside leaf is in higher concentration than inside the leaf cells. Why? Because the mesophyll cells are constantly using up the carbon dioxide in the process of photosynthesis. The carbon dioxide also diffuses out of the animal cells as respiration waste because its concentration is higher inside than outside. It passes through mitochondria, cytoplasm, plasma membrane, tissue fluid, bloods, and finally lungs, and then out of the body. It builds up to higher concentration in the blood and tissues than in the air in the lungs, causing it to move from areas of higher concentration to low concentration. So it reaches the air in alveoli in the lungs, where its concentration is low and thus it is exhaled out of the body. Oxygen also diffuses out of green plant cells after photosynthesis. Since oxygen builds up inside the plant cell, its concentration inside is higher than the outside. Oxygen molecules passively move out of the mesophyll cells through the intercellular spaces and finally out of the leaf through the stomata in the atmosphere. This requires no ATP. What is osmosis? Osmosis is also the net movement of water molecules across a semi permeable membrane from a region of higher water concentration to a region of lower water concentration. This is a passive process and there is no requirement of ATP. Examples are the root hair cells absorbing water from the soil. The soil water usually has a higher water concentration as compared to the cell sap inside the root hair cell. Because of this difference, water moves from a region of higher water concentration to the region of lower water concentration through plasma membrane. The RBCs swell when they are placed in pure water because the concentration of water outside the cell is higher than inside the cell. Due to osmosis, the water enters the RBCs through their semi permeable membrane, plasma membrane. As more and more water enters, the RBC starts to swell, and if too much water enters, they may burst also. Endocytosis or the bulk intake. The cell, when engulfs the material by folding its membrane around the food, is known as endocytosis. Amoeba engulfs the food particles by this process and it is called as phagocytosis, which is also a type of endocytosis. Let's see how amoeba eats its food. First, amoeba detects the food particles, then the pseudopodia formation takes place, which are the false feet. These false feet they form finger-like projections around the food particles and then engulf it and then finally takes it inside it. The WBCs also defend our body. They also engulf and destroy the bacteria using the process of phagocytosis, that is also a type of endocytosis. Functions of plasma membrane: selective permeability, controls what enters and leaves the cell, allows the nutrients, glucose, amino acids, and oxygens to enter and the waste to leave. Oxygen also diffuses out in this way. Protection and support: protects the internal cell contents from the external environment, provides mechanical support, and maintains the cell shape. It provides mechanical support to hold the cell components together. Has proteins and receptors that help cells communicate. For example, the insulin binds to its receptor on the cell membrane to allow the glucose uptake. The transport of substances also takes place through different mechanisms like diffusion, osmosis, active transport, endocytosis, and exocytosis, releasing enzymes and hormones. It also maintains the internal environment of the cell and keeps it stable by regulating the exchange of substances. It prevents the excessive water loss or gain also. So, summary is that the plasma membrane functions as the gatekeeper, the protector, shields the cell contents. It is the communicator, transporter, identifier, and also the balancer. This is a diagram of the plasma membrane with all its functions. Now comes the nucleus. The nucleus is a vital double membraned organelle found in the eukaryotic cells, acting as the control center because it contains the DNA. The main parts of the nucleus in the cell is the nuclear envelope, nuclear pores, nucleoplasm, and chromatin, nucleolus, nuclear matrix, and nuclear lamina. The structure of the nucleus consists of the nuclear membrane, which is a double membrane with a lipid bilayer that separates the nucleus from the cytoplasm. It contains numerous nuclear pores, which are complex protein structures that regulate the passage of molecules like RNA and proteins into and out of the nucleus. The nucleoplasm is a jelly like fluid inside the nucleus of the eukaryotic cell. It is enclosed by nuclear envelope, also known as the nuclear membrane, and it resembles the cytoplasm. It is also a medium for the movement of molecules and ions. The soluble liquid portion of the nucleoplasm is called the karyolymph, and the composition consists of water, nucleotides, ions and salts, and enzymes needed for DNA replication, transcription, and repair. Now think of the nucleoplasm as the water in aquarium. The nucleolus is like a filter system making the ribosomes, and the chromatin is like the fishes or the plants, the active genetic material. The nuclear envelope is like the glass walls that enclose everything. Without water, the nucleoplasm, nothing inside the aquarium can function properly. In short, the nucleoplasm is the life supporting fluid inside the nucleus that ensures the storage, transport, reaction, and proper functioning of the genetic material. Next is the chromatin. It is the entangled network of long thread like structures which is composed of the DNA and histone proteins. Chromatin is the material that makes up the chromosomes in the nucleus of the eukaryotic cell. It consists of the DNA and proteins, mainly histones, and it is not always tightly packed. Its structure changes depending on whether the cell is dividing or not. It condenses to form chromosomes. The chromosomes are essentially the vehicles that transmit genetic information from one generation to the next, a process known as heredity. They are thread like structures made of DNA and proteins that contain the genetic material and hereditary information of an organism and determine the traits of that organism. Found in the nucleus of eukaryotic cells, they are not usually visible but become compact and observed during the cell division. Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes, 22 pairs of autosomes, and 1 pair of allosomes, which are essential for proper DNA replication and distribution during the process of cell division. What are chromosomes made of? They are made up of DNA and the special proteins such as histones. The DNA is the molecule that contains all the genetic instructions for the development, functioning, and reproduction of nearly all the living organisms. The genetic code present in the DNA dictates the proteins that make up the organism's body, and it is passed from the parents to offspring to ensure the hereditary continuity. Nucleolus, the dense spherical body inside the nucleus of most of the eukaryotic cells, it contains the genes and encodes RNA. It does not have any covering or membrane and it is known as the ribosome factory. It is responsible for ribosome synthesis and RNA production. The nuclear pores are the tiny openings on the nuclear envelope. They are protein lined channels within the nuclear envelope of the eukaryotic cells. They control the movement of RNA and the proteins in and out. The nuclear pores, this controlled transport by them is crucial for cellular process like gene expression, as it allows necessary proteins to enter the nucleus for the DNA processing and the RNAs to exit. Now, the functions of the nucleus. First, it stores the genetic information. The nucleus contains the DNA, which is the cell's hereditary material. DNA has the instruction for making proteins and passing the traits to the next generation. Think of the DNA like a library of instruction manuals or the blueprint of a city. Example: the DNA in the nucleus decides if your eyes will be brown or black. It also controls protein synthesis. DNA in the nucleus is transcribed into RNA, and this RNA leaves the nucleus and helps the ribosomes make proteins, and proteins control almost all the functions. Imagine a chef in a restaurant. The recipe DNA is in the library. The chef copies the recipe RNA and goes back to the kitchen ribosomes to cook the food, the proteins. Regulates the cell activities. The nucleus decides which proteins and enzymes are produced, which in turn control chemical reactions. It regulates energy use, growth, and repair. For example, in liver cells, the nucleus controls production of enzymes for the process of detoxification. The nucleus is like the city's mayor that issues the orders when to build, repair, or demolish the structures. It also controls the cell growth and repair. Nucleus directs the production of new organelle when the cell grows. If the cell is injured, the nucleus helps repair by making the proteins needed for healing. Think of it as the construction manager of the city, ensuring damaged buildings are repaired. Like the skin cells repair a wound by following the instructions from the nucleus, and the new cells are built in place of the damaged ones. It also regulates the cell cycle and the division. The nucleus controls when a cell should divide. It ensures DNA is copied and distributed properly. The nucleus is like a traffic controller who decides when the cars, the cells, should stop, go, or split in the new lanes, the cell division. Example: the growth of the plants from the seeds depends on the regulated cell division. This is a very interesting function of the nucleus. Next is coordinates all the cell activities. It works like the command center of the cell, controls process and protein synthesis and responds to the environment. Just like the central government coordinates education, transport, defense, and the health department for a country, nucleus also coordinates all the functions of the cell. Example, a muscle cell contracts on the command of nucleus. In the next video, we will discuss the remaining of the chapter. Please like and share and subscribe. Thank you very much.